Hello, hello. We are now this next section. I realize I don't like the idea of numbering it because hopefully you're going to go back and forth and just kind of watch them as you need them and keep going back and reviewing and things like that. It's just the next section. So in this one, we're going to discuss the difference between what is an inside turn versus an outside turn. And we're going to use highs, mediums, and lows. Okay, we're going to focus on the followers' highs, but for this one, we're going to focus on the leaders' highs and the leaders' mediums and the leaders' lows for right now. Then we're going to go back and we're going to discuss the followers' mediums and the followers' lows. Okay, so in the cheat sheet that some of you may have had, or just the idea of, like I said, the simplification that I'm trying to do in this sort of new system is there's only two directions your body can turn in. So you can only rotate and turn to your left, or you can only rotate and turn to your right. So absolutely every flashy, fancy, really cool thing that you've seen anyone dance at any point in time, it's really either going to be a left turn or a right turn. It's going to be a really short turn, a medium turn, or a really long turn. So, but there's nothing that anyone has ever done that isn't either just standing still or turning to your left or turning to your right, okay? So the difference is going to be, right now, just left or right. But, so you can just keep it as simple as that. But I'm going to peel another layer for right now. And for those who want a little more detail about the two different kind of feelings within these turns that you're going to have is the difference between an inside turn versus an outside turn, okay? So if I were to put my arm up for a moment, all right? So this is my neutral, this is my baseline for right now, right? If my leader or the leader turns themselves and their arm and elbow is moving across the body, so this would be like a high, right? A medium, or a low, right? So same thing, a high, a medium, or a low, right? If the arm is coming across the body inside this neutral baseline here, it is an inside turn, okay? If the arms, anything happens outside of that neutral boundary, it is an outside turn, right? So the nice thing is, for a moment, if I were to take right now her outside arm, the arm farthest away from you, if I were to lead her to an inside turn, I'm really, as a leader, I'm trying to take this and bring it to this shoulder and then bring it back to the other shoulder, like make a circle. I'm going to draw a circle around her head. It's just the act of me trying to get to that other shoulder, she's going to have to turn. So when I bring the hand closest to the shoulder, she's going to not necessarily turn for right now. She's going to let the arm start to get to the shoulder first and let the arm actually go across the body first. Then, as I'm actually trying to now get to the invisible shoulder that was on the other side, her body has to turn, which is why that shoulder is moving and I can't find it as a leader. So the act of me trying to find that shoulder is what leads her to a turn. I'm drawing a circle around her head, not over, but around, okay? So I brought her hand inside the boundaries, inside, right? If I were to bring this hand out and around, this is going to be an outside turn, okay? As the leader, if I were to do the same thing and I were to actually start to step into it, because I'm going to have to get closer, but if I start to step into it and I bring my arm across my body so I can start to place it over my head, and then I unravel, I've just led myself to an inside turn. If I just lift it and I send my own arm out and around, I've just led myself to an outside turn. So inside goes across the body and outside just opens up, okay? With that in mind now, both leaders and follower, the way that you lose some of the beginner look, hey, I've just started taking dance lessons, and everything that you do really makes it look like you're taking dance lessons. A way to scrape a couple of those awkward layers off is allow for the inside, when the hand starts to go across the body, allow it to go first before you turn the body. If all of a sudden, as soon as we move the arm across the body, you start turning, it starts to have that beginner look, but it also, when we get to some of the future section where we talk about the followers, mediums, and lows, it makes it really difficult for the leader to actually lead you to a medium or a low, in that sense that you're not allowing us to bring the arm across the body first and start the lead. You're already turning, and we may not actually want you to turn. I may go like this, and I may just bring this hand up and just want to go over her head. So I just made her pretty much just do this, right? If I were to do this, and all I wanted to do was just an overhead loop, right? The only way I can do that is if you allow the inside turn to be a little delayed, meaning let the arm go across the body first before you all of a sudden start turning right away. Do you see the difference? So this would be more of a delay. I'm allowing the arm to go across the body first. Stay between neutral and neutral, right? Neutral to neutral zone, from shoulder to shoulder is the neutral zone. See? Nothing said to turn yet. But as soon as, let's say I asked Courtney to pull on the arm a little bit, right? That's going to unravel me. That's going to make me turn. I'm running out of rope, right? So the turn didn't happen until the tail end, right? So in order for me to lead Courtney to a medium or just an overhead loop, she has to allow me to just simply stay within the neutral zone and allow that arm to go up over first, as if I'm trying to get to the shoulder. And then I just decide not to finish. I just said, oh, I'm just gonna do a medium, right? So, but if I now go to that side and then I bring and I continue to allow that hand to go all the way around the body and back to where it started, she had no choice but to turn, okay? So just allow for that neutral. If the leader is going from one shoulder to the other shoulder and keeping you within neutral right here, just hang out for a little while. Just allow that slight delay before you start turning. Don't kind of turn right away, okay? Ladies, with your outside turn, there's a limit. You actually, if you were to lift your arm and go like this, you could feel it stop. Your arm just can't open up anymore. So if you were really questionable of what direction does he want me to turn in, what you'll notice is there's kind of no choice. If I lift this arm and I start to bring it around her body, she can let it open up, but once it gets to here and I were to keep going, she has no choice but to turn. So I would say, if anything, if you're really questionable, allow for a comfortable delay. Let us move your arm first before you immediately start turning. That will give a little bit more of an advanced look and feel to everything that you do, but it'll also be able to make the easing into the mediums and the lows for the followers a lot easier. It'll allow the guys to actually be able to lead them to you, okay? So that's where you're gonna get, in like salsa, for instance, a lot of these cool overhead, styling and things like that that we like to do. Allow us to kind of go around and get to your neck first, so we can kind of do some really cool things. But if all of a sudden we start to move, and if I just touch your shoulder, and just the act of me starting to touch your shoulder, you start turning, I'm gonna be like, oh, so that thing that I was going to do, I can't do now, or maybe I can try it again later, or so you've just helped decrease a little bit of the things that we can lead you to. So just allow for that delay, that neutral area. This if I have two dotted lines coming down here, this area is neutral. So we should be able to move your arms around in here before feeling like you have to turn, right? So another example for that, for instance, if I were to do this, the act of me having her arms in this area right here, I should be able to lift and lower them without her feeling like she has to turn the body. So if I were to go like this, boom, 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 or you see this sort of cool stuff in salsa, right? The only way to do that is you have to be okay with this neutral zone right inside the two dotted lines. It's only when I bring the hand outside of the neutral zone that she naturally just had to turn, okay? So inside versus outside is going across the body. That's inside, high, medium, lows, right? Highs, mediums, lows, right? And outside is when you have no choice. The arm is trying to go out and around the body, okay? You will have mostly highs and some lows. You'll pass through some mediums. An example would be if I went like this and I just brought the hands to here, that would be stopping at a medium, and then we would turn. So you do have highs, mediums, and lows with inside and outside turns, okay? So what is high, medium, and low, right? So within my inside, outside turns, which are only left or right turns, that's it, right? I can lead things over our heads, ear to ear, or to say every part of the body has to go underneath it, and that would be high. So if I were to just borrow her hand for a moment, if I were to go up over my head from ear to ear, see that? That would be a high, right? But at the same time, if I were to do something like this, and then watch this, if every part of my body went underneath it, then technically I did a high because every part of the body went underneath this level, right? And it doesn't matter where that level is. If I were to pick up her leg and go underneath her leg, boom, right? I just went below, but it was a high for me. So I still had a high, right? So highs, right? Medium is going to be top side of the shoulder, neck and shoulder, arm, right, level. Low is going to be under the arm to belt line, okay? So I'm going to lead one of each direction. As the leader, I'm going to lead it with my left hand first, right? So I'm just going to lead her to turn to the left with a high, high to the right. I'm going to lead myself to the left with a high and to the right. Same thing, I'm going to use my right hand and we're just going to lead an outside turn, which is her left at that time, and an inside turn, which is her right. And then my left turn, which is an inside turn at that point, and then my right turn, which becomes an outside turn, okay? So there's only two directions that your bodies turn in, left and right. And as the leader / follower, everything with my hands is going to pertain to the leader. I have 5 hand combinations that I can use. So once again, for those of you who have the cheat sheet, that's what that second row means. Left hand, right hand, 2 hands, right to right, and left to left. Even if I were to combine, it's just literally exactly that. It's a combination. I'm still in a 2-hand hold, but I am right to right and I am left to left. So there's nothing you can lead or follow that wouldn't fall into one of those hand combinations. Left hand, right hand, 2 hands, right to right, or left to left. Everything else falls into a little bit of flashy. I can do a shoulder lead, I can do a hip lead, I can lead her to something, grab her hips and pull her back, things like that. So you have other body contact, you have other leads that way. But socially, you can go really, really, really far and never have to worry about trying to get into some of those other things. All you have to worry about is using your hands, okay? So, high, left hand. Right hand, same thing, high, high, 2 hands, high, high, right hand to right hand, high, high, left hand to left, high, and high, okay? Medium is going to be, for right now, just for the leaders, is anytime I keep my arm at a medium level, I'm just not going to lift it high enough that we can actually just avoid the heads. We're not going to clothesline each other. A medium would actually fall into sort of a clotheslining. You're going to wrap yourself into the arm, or you're just going to keep it at a nice medium level, and you're going to either turn to the left or turn to the right. So if I turn to the left, it ends up going to my shoulder. So now there's no more hand contact. She stays like a magnet all the way across. And that was a medium. See that again? I'm just going to turn to my right. That's going to drop the hand off. She rolls around between the back of the shoulders, back of the neck, right? And down the arm, okay? I can turn in either direction. It's just one will lead you back to a parallel arm, and one might lead you back to in a cross hand position. I'm going to turn in both directions and show you what I mean by that, and then I'm going to let you know what is your emergency. How do I get out of any cross hand situation? You have two emergency things that can get you out of any jam whatsoever. Okay? So with a medium, if I were to turn to my left with my left hand, it kept us in parallel. I don't have to change anything. I'll be able to go back and hold and actually just continue dancing with her. Okay? If I were to turn to the right with my left hand, that's going to now change it. And now I'm going to cross hand. So a cool way to just always be able to get out of a cross hand jam is going to be lift and switch. So watch this. I'm going to lift my hand and switch back to the same side. Or I can lift and switch. Or you can lift, switch. Watch this one. You can lift, watch my left hand, switch. So the only thing that your mind is thinking of is anytime I'm in a cross hand, anything, lift and switch. So your emergency things is lift and switch. No matter how you do it, you saw me doing several examples already. As long as you lift and switch, you always have a much cooler way of getting back to a home, comfortable feeling of she's usually in this hand, right? Than just switching. I could do something and I could be like, yeah, right? And I'm like, I'm in a cross hand, you're doing all this, and all of a sudden you're just like, switch, right? So could you do that? Yeah, but you'll always have a much cooler way if you think lift and switch, okay? So we just did highs, that was medium, and now I'm going to show you what a low is, right? A low, same thing. All I'm going to do is keep the hand low, and I'm either going to turn to my left or I'm going to turn to my right. Depending on which direction I turn to, I may have to switch hands because my body is in the way. So if I turn into my arm, so if I turn to the left, I'm going to switch hands so I can change behind my back. But if I have her in my left hand and I turn to the right, I can actually switch back here, or I can actually go through it. I can make her actually roll around my waist and get to her hand on the other side. So the two ways that you can do a low is you're going to run into it and slide through it, right? Or you're going to change hands. Change, 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 change. Okay? I'm just keeping the hand low and I'm turning. See that? And you can do that with your left hand, you can do that with your right hand, you can do that with right to right, and you can do that with left to left. You're just gonna find if you try to do that with two hand hold, you're gonna get a little caught up. It just means you have to do something with the other one. We're gonna talk about combinations, high-low combinations and stuff like that another time, okay? So the gist was we had the bodies can only turn in two directions. You're either going to turn to your left or you're going to turn to your right. We talked about highs, mediums, and lows. All you're doing is you're keeping the hand high, keeping it medium, or keeping it low, okay? Depending on whether it's a feeling of an inside turn or an outside turn, okay? So the next section is we're going to do a dance demo of everything up to this point. We're going to have frame. We're going to be going in and out of home, like frame, how we hold each other. We're going to be using a rhythm, and we're going to use the highs, the mediums, and the lows. Highs for both of us, mediums and lows for the leader, and then we're going to pick up with everything else later.